or a global warming, everyone, and we'll see, because I mean there was a news last week or the week before that they in Iceland. The scientists, I think the place, placement was in Iceland, but there were scientists, from around the world. The scientists had managed to pump carbon dioxide back into the ground, and it stayed there, and it had been. It had solidified, in record time compared to what anyone thought was possible. Or most people thought was possible, and of course the idea, the immediate thought that you get in your head, oh, no, not again. I mean the top echelons of the world, top politicians, civil servants, industrial or corporation leaders have again brought this entire planet to the brink of extinction, and again, at the last moment, the scientists come up with something that saves us all. But I mean, this was only a first trial and so on. It's early stages, so still so far, it is global warming, but it is an incredible thought. Then, of course, one has to say I haven't seen. I have so much to do. I wouldn't have time to do this. But of course, Brexit is today, or isn't, in my view. So of course, one has to make one's prognostication today. I mean, it isn't. It's no good tomorrow. But I haven't followed. I hope that the forest fires in Cyprus are under control, or more likely, hopefully out. It's pretty awful if your country is one half of a small island, and suddenly there's a forest fire. It's pretty awful, and I hope everything's all right now. I understand it was a small child playing with a cigarette lighter. Very small things can turn into very big things, can't they? Anyway, and then of course no video at the moment. You cannot make a video without talking of the United States presidential election and the total lack of or even pretense of democracy in the United States of America. I mean, what can you say? Bernie Sanders won the Democratic nomination for president, but there was a massive election fraud, like in any banana republic, and Hillary Clinton is now the presumptive nominee. And it's not, again, if you've followed it all, it's not all that surprising that they should happen in the United States. I mean, it is already proven that the country is not a democracy; it's an oligarchy. But what is so amazing is that the international press has said nothing. They've treated it like it was a fair election, and that is very odd. Why do you have different standards for Belarus and the United States? Not to mention the fact that the United States, the fact that it hasn't had democracy for a long time, but that it no more has even a possibility for a fair election. That is pretty important, considering that they have by far the greatest army in the world, and they like to dabble everywhere, and half of them are completely crazy people. So the fact that their elections don't work anymore is really important for for mankind, and it's very strange, because you shouldn't have double standards. But firstly, of course, one has to say, many often it's people like to think, or thinkers, whatever, intellectuals like to think that the world is a one big arguesome family. And I personally, I like to think of us as kids in a schoolyard, or as countries, all the countries as kids as a schoolyard. But the idea is that we should try and keep our, each other in check. That if somebody has fraud elections, all the others go, and again, I mean, how could anyone hold? How could the rest of the world hold the United States accountable, hold it its feet to the fire, if it doesn't even know that there is election fraud? And I mean, there's no question there's election fraud. I mean, the democratic election, it would not have passed, if it would have happened abroad. All the departments, the United States itself would have called it, not free and fair election. So I mean, there's no question that it's completely fraudulent. But the fact that the world doesn't know it, that all the greatest, all the public media of all the world have just taken the silly talking points of the US corporate media that is not, of course, reporting any fraud. And at the moment, since the Republican, all the Republican nominees dropped out at critical points, so that they in a way, they gave away, with the help of the media, at least the presumptive nominationship, or is that a word, to Donald Trump. And now then the media has turned on Trump. You could even make a case that the fact that Hillary Clinton presidency has been arranged. That when they found out that they couldn't get Jeb Bush on the Republican side, that they just decided, to make Donald Trump an impossible candidate, the Republican candidate. Then they sabotaged Bernie Sanders out. And there's nothing standing in the way of this horrible, horrible, horrible woman. And please don't try to make me out as chauvinist. I love Elizabeth Warren. Again, the United States, every reasonable United Statesman should have no problem with this election if they really manage not to give the Democratic nomination to the real winner, Bernie Sanders. I mean, there should be no problem. Everybody please vote for Dr. Jill Stein. I mean, it's a no-brainer. So anyway, I love Elizabeth Warren. I love Dr. Jill Stein. I mean, not a chauvinist. Hillary Clinton is a bastard, like her husband, like her whole blooming family. Okay? Nothing to do with chauvinism or male chauvinism. We have female chauvinism here and there, don't we? So anyway, so that is one thing, because it's very odd that you should not have same rules for everybody. I mean, it leads to very strange things. I mean, I'm not a fan of Russia, of Vladimir Putin's Russia. I think it's an awful place at the moment. But I mean, their reaction to something like people, like other countries having military practices, military maneuvers close to their borders, quite understandable. I mean, think of it, if somebody were to have, military practices on, on the coast of Florida or California or in front of New York, you'd have nuclear winter before you can say idiots. All right. So the fact that if one country is held as much better than it is, then the reactions of some country that is not any better or not very good, but still its understandable reactions are somehow seen as much more negative than they are, if you get my meaning. So the United States should, for a long time ago, should have been held, accountable. It seems that the world, that the ordinary citizenry does. I mean, when there was an inquiry of which country are you most worried about, which is the greatest threat to world peace, the citizenry of the world voted the United States, quite correctly. But now there's a Big, big problem there. So anyway, now to my main rant, which actually is not going to take all that long, because I have no huge information on the subject. It is Brexit, or non-Brexit, as I would say it. I mean, they're going to vote today, and there's I can't imagine how could anyone think that there would be some sort of Great Britain leaving the European Union. It's never going to happen. And mind you, this is not what I want. I would want nothing more dearly than the Great Britain to break from the European Union, and that would start the breakup of the European Union, which is it's a ridiculous idea. It's one of the stupidest ideas ever, the European Union. There's only two possibilities. Either you have, the United States of Europe, which again, everybody should realize why that's not a good thing. You could just look across the pond and you see why it is not a good idea at all. You can only have either United States of Europe or nothing, or no union. Again, all the things that during all this time, all the things that have been, that the ordinary people think that why the European Union is good. I would like to move freely and so on. That doesn't need the European Union. It only needs some international agreements. It's nothing to do. The only reason why the European, and one has to go to this at some other point, the only reason the European Union is existing and only thing how it could actually happen is because of giant corporations, just like in the United States. They wanted it. That's why it came to be. And for them, it exists. I mean, there's no reason why everything should be moving freely. Criminals, terrorists, if you want to put it that way, illegal stuff. There's no reason for all of those things. You can, as an ordinary citizen, you might move freely. There's no reason why stuff should be moving freely, and you have all these security and just unpleasantness problems. There's no reason for it. The only reason is that the giant corporations do not want to be held accountable for anything. The total free movement is for them, not for you. So anyway, the European Union is a stupid, idiotic, impossible, ridiculous idea. And this is, of course, one of the biggest chance so far for it to completely fall apart, which would be wonderful. It would be, one of the best things that have happened during my lifetime. But it's not going to happen again. The billionaire class, as dear Bernie Sanders would put it, the billionaire class has not lost this election this big yet in human history. Never. And nothing that I have seen or heard says to me that it's going to this time. And the billionaires, of course, want the Great Britain to stay in the European Union. So it's going to stay. And that's just, bling, my prognostication that has to be made before Britain's vote. Never going to happen. Britain is not going to exit the EU. And there would have had to be something much more, something like Jeremy Corbyn would have to be the Prime Minister or something, before. Something remarkable should have, or should have to have happened for Britain to exit the EU. It's not going to. But again, I cannot say this strong enough. If somebody still doesn't get it, I don't want that. If I am wrong, and if Great Britain is leaving, is gonna leave, if they're gonna vote out, I'm the happiest man, or as happy as any man in Europe. But no, it's not going to happen. But anyway, one has to still say it. Britons, please show us the way. No.